Hey guys, welcome to this video. In this video, we'll be doing a pro-con look at ASIC Resistance. For those not coming from my video on Vertcoin, which you should totally check out, ASIC Resistance refers to ASICs, application-specific integrated circuits, which in the context of cryptocurrency are used for mining. ASICs do one thing very well, which means that when an ASIC is developed for a mining algorithm, they totally dominate the mining share and essentially make graphics cards obsolete for mining as they can't adequately compete with ASICs. ASICs and graphics cards are doing the same thing. ASICs are just so much better at that one thing because that is literally their reason for existence, whereas graphics cards do a whole bunch of different things. If a crypto coin is said to be ASIC resistant, it means that the mining algorithm the coin is using does not currently have an ASIC solution that is superior to mining using the traditional CPU and graphics card solution. As an example I discussed in my other video, the script mining algorithm used to be ASIC resistant because it requires a lot of memory to run, which was something that ASICs of the time weren't able to overcome. However, as time went on, someone eventually figured out how to build an ASIC to overcome this limitation, and soon ASICs dominated mining for coins using the script algorithm, such as Litecoin. This is why we say ASIC Resistance, not ASIC Proof, because any mining algorithm can have an ASIC developed for it. It's just a matter of time and profit incentive for the companies developing and manufacturing the ASICs. Alright, so let's break this down. ASIC Resistance. Let's do some pro-con back and forth, because I can explain this stuff, but at the end of the day, it's your opinion that matters. Is ASIC resistance important to you? Hopefully this breakdown will help you make that judgment. So in the pro category, the first and foremost aspect we want to mention is freedom or equitability in mining. There's something intangibly noble about basically anyone with a modern graphics card able to make a few clicks and start mining a coin, securing the network. There's hardly any setup involved, just use the machine you already have. In my opinion, this was very important to Satoshi himself, as he wanted crypto to not only be decentralized, but also well distributed. It is not written, but I think it's pretty clear he wanted cryptos to be easily accessible. This is only possible as long as commodity hardware, like graphics cards, are effective. On the opposite side of things, ASICs are efficiency manifested. They're about as close to perfect miners as possible. Sure, there's a high initial investment you have to hurdle, but the profit margin is higher as well. There's comfort in knowing that if you buy an ASIC, you have the most efficient hardware performing the most amount of hashes per second out there. Quite simply, it is a rebuke of everyone having an equal chance of securing the network. Why should the network pander exclusively to people with bad and old hardware when it can be secured much more efficiently by people with ASICs? So right off that point, another pro of ASICs are that they have very low power draw for the hashes that they are putting out. This is important not just for a cost basis and profit margin perspective, but also from a purely environmental one. Some estimates put the total energy usage of Bitcoin alone by 2020 as high as the country of Denmark. So clearly having more energy efficient hashing in a device is something desirable. On the flip side of that, graphics cards are general purpose computing power. You can mine any coin that allows it. So if one coin is no longer profitable, you can just immediately switch to a different one. That's not the case with ASICs. Not only are they specifically tied to a single coin, they are hardware bound as well. If a new version of your ASIC comes out that is much more efficient, or the coin you're mining loses a lot of value overnight, or the coin changes its hashing algorithm, suddenly you're left with a device that's worth very little. There's also not a robust used ASIC market because people buying ASICs are gonna be buying the latest and greatest. So ASIC miners are forced to upgrade or fall behind, leading to a lot of hardware waste over the years. Basically, ASICs have a short lifespan. Graphics cards, in comparison, have a great used market, and you can easily recoup much of the initial cost of your card. Speaking of that initial purchase, graphics cards are generally cheaper than ASICs, but obviously ASICs are going to have a higher hash rate per dollar, so price is kind of a moot point for me. However, what isn't in dispute is that graphics card manufacturers, plus all the third-party resellers, are very trustworthy, and there is a high supply of these cards. Yes, it can be hard to acquire some specific cards from time to time, but that won't completely stop you from buying something and still participating. graphics cards are ubiquitous. Now, with ASICs, reputable companies like NVIDIA, Intel, AMD, IBM, Asus, Gigabyte, etc. They're not developing ASICs. Instead, we have sketchy companies like Bitmain and IBLink and Baikal. They've developed poor reputations because of limited warranties, poor support, scams, limited supply, etc. However, that limited supply of ASICs actually works to their favor, as it serves as a barrier for a single entity wishing to perform a 51% attack on the network. Basically, acquiring ASICs is not easy, especially in the sorts of batches necessary to dominate the network, and especially because ASICs are fundamentally flawed in that any changes to the algorithm make them useless. So ASICs' limited supply and limited use actually benefit the network as it prevents brute force attacks in most cases. Graphics cards, in comparison, are much easier to acquire in large amounts, though you do have to worry about all that excess heat. So the last point of contention is about centralization. With regard to ASICs, they don't centralize the market, supply limits do. When you have a currency with mining rewards that are being reduced every year, you're also going to see the number of miners reduced. Miners are going to chase money. But if your coin is scaling difficulty, that encourages mining pools like we see with Bitcoin today. ASICs and graphics cards do the same thing. They solve hashes. So the machines aren't to blame for how the market is partitioned and dominated by large groups. Humans are. Now, the argument against that pro-ASIC stance is neatly countered by stating the exact same thing. ASICs don't centralize the market, supply limits do. But this time, we're not talking about the supply limits of the coin, we're talking about the supply limits of the ASICs. Now, with graphics cards, you're never going to have a supply issue. I'm talking graphics cards in general. No, ASICs don't centralize the market, supply limits of ASICs do. If only a couple companies research and manufacture ASICs for a coin, you're asking for centralization. When coins are primarily mined by people running the miner on their gaming computer, or maybe a 6 graphics card miner that they build, mining is allowed to be casual and decentralized organically. The moment ASICs come out for that coin, all that goes away and suddenly the mining is a purely commercial endeavor. The only people who can mine are those willing to pony up thousands of dollars to do so. And so now they're thinking of mining like a business. Quite simply, ASICs change the risk profile for mining. With graphics card mining, someone can start mining without taking on excessive risks. If the coin crashes, they can sell their graphics card to gamers or mine something else. On the other hand, the profitability of an ASIC is intimately tied to the price of the coin. Buying an ASIC is therefore much more speculative than buying a graphics card. As such, ASIC miners are going to pull together and try to influence the coin they're mining, be that the price or direction. When they're spending thousands and thousands of dollars for rows and rows of ASICs, they're forced to try and prevent the developers of the coin from pushing out an update that would make their hardware obsolete. They become whale traders and manipulate the market and try to reduce volatility. And if they cash out, it will nuke the price of the coin. So in my opinion, ASICs and coin centralization go hand in hand, and centralization is the antithesis of cryptocurrencies. Some great examples of why that is are currently playing out before us. Bitcoin scaling issues leading to Bitcoin 2x and Bitcoin Cash. This all ties back to the largest mining pools and their interests as it relates to the future of Bitcoin. Their interests are not going to align with the masses. They are going to pursue what's best for the big miners. All that being said, I don't think ASIC resistance would have prevented the market from becoming the current state we see it in today. While it's nice to think about economics free from the controlling interest of a select few over the many, it's clear that the free market doesn't operate that way. Nor should we try to enforce arbitrary standards upon what is proving to be one of the greatest economic revolutions of our time. Instead, we can celebrate crypto for what it is: a decentralization of the economic powers and a freedom of choice. You don't have to use a certain coin. There are many out there, and that's awesome. Vertcoin exists because some people believe that ASICs are counter to the interests of decentralization, but not everyone believes that, and that's great. A diversity of opinions and methods leads to the greatest amount of innovations. How lucky we are to be observers of this renaissance. Who knows what the future holds for this technology? We just have to hold on tight and enjoy the ride. Alright, so thank you very much for watching. I hope this video was helpful and made you think a little bit. If you enjoyed the video, I'd be honored if you gave me a like. And if you're new here and want to continue to see high quality crypto analysis, by all means hit that subscribe button and definitely check out my other videos too. I'm going to be publishing my new website and Telegram list soon, so guys, definitely watch out for that. Take it easy and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.